To crack a bottle of wine, we're swinging with the stars without standing in line. Fishing with the divas, hanging with the hunks. Every time they hit the stage, they're all slam dunks. Sparkling conversation, inside information, a bona fide Broadway backstage education. Break out the bubbly, it's time for toast with your lovable, laughable, affable host. So hold on tight, we're hot to go on the Broadway Cast Reunion Show.
So nice. We could have danced. Oh, I am in my best Eliza. I'm living my best life.
You didn't.
Lee, this is the only hat they had at the dollar store. That
I was trying to think about what you might do, but I wasn't thinking on it, in case you were wondering.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the
Broadway
reunion of My Fair Lady.
Oh my gosh. I'm so excited.
I am so excited for this.
This was such a stunning production. I've never met Bartlett Sher, who directed it, but I've seen like everything he's directed. I don't know like how he does it. He takes the most brilliant musicals that are brilliant already, and he makes them even more technicolor in a way. It's stunning. And this production is just beautiful, just beautiful.
When you add a brilliant cast like the people that are here tonight, it knocks it out of the park.
That doesn't hurt. Oh, did Robert freeze? Wow, that's never happened before. I kind of like it. So what we're going to do right now is I just want to show this, just in case anybody hasn't seen the Lincoln Center Theater production of the revival of My Fair Lady. Here's a little montage of what you missed. Welcome back.
I'm back. You know what it was? There was too much Jersey on the screen. Laura is I know that Laura is my fellow Jersey friend, and she's here right now.
There's a lot of Jersey energy.
Too much Jersey energy.
Anyway, as I was saying, and you can see from that clip, it's like he brought the Technicolor out in this musical. It is stunning. It is stunning. And we are so thrilled that Laura Benanti is here with us tonight. And I just want to show, we found a little clip of her performing at the Macy's Thanksgiving Day Parade.
Oh
Yay!
How are you?
Am I hiding in a closet so that I don't wake up my child? Who's to say?
Who's to say?
It's impossible
Ella,
to know. I'll never tell.
Ella is a star in my book.
Oh my
I've watched
gosh.
every video, every Insta story.
And you know, Rosemary Harris is her best friend.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when Ella was 2 years old, she would come visit backstage, and she was obsessed with Rosemary. And you would say, Ella, who's your best friend? And she would say, Rosemary.
So, Laura, I don't know whether you know this, because in quarantine, who knows who's talking to who, but Jordan Donica, who was your
Yes.
Freddie Rainsford Hill,
Yeah.
is out here in LA filming Charmed. And he only has 5 minutes before he has to go
Do
back
it.
on set.
Hi.
So
Oh my God, do it.
we're gonna bring him on
Laura.
quickly.
How are you?
Hi.
Thank you for taking a
Good to
moment
see
off
you.
of being on set to be with us.
Oh no, he's a gremlin.
He is.
That's what LA does to us.
I-
That's what happens when you leave the theater, Jordan.
That's it. You make that.
You turn into a robot. You turn into a robot.
All right. Well, we had him for a moment.
We
had him
tried.
for a
He's
moment.
so
We tried.
handsome.
We
He's so
tried.
handsome.
And what a beautiful
I was-
boy.
Oh my God, such a beautiful voice. I said to Bart, I was like, am I going to look like his mom? When we first started, he was like, no, it's from far away.
It's from
So that's the good news about theater.
We all know
So-
you have had quite the career. You're starting at a young age. You know,
Tell me more.
you start a Paper Mill Playhouse. Hello, Doll. I'm a
wow.
your mom was a vocal coach of mine back in the day, is one of the best.
Robert, you're
Laura,
speaking
we
my
were-
language.
We
Right.
were like we are Jersey related in some way, and
Oh
you
my
have been
gosh.
singing and being a leading lady for a long time. I'm sure as a child, being in My Fair Lady must have been on the list of roles that maybe you wanted to take on.
It was my number one. It was my
Really?
number one. I was like, one day I will be Eliza Doolittle. And
Wow.
then when they were doing the revival, when it was announced that they were going to do the revival, I had just had my daughter. So I didn't even audition because I was like, I can't do that. And I did a 75-minute play that Steve Martin wrote instead. I was like, that's more my speed. And I had made peace with it. I was like, you know what? I'm never going to play this part. And that's okay. Maybe I'm not meant to. And then Bart called me when Lauren Ambrose, who originated this revival, when she left to do a TV show. And at that point, my daughter was turning 2 and could raise herself.
Evidently.
But no, I mean, I just felt like, okay, I'm less exhausted. I mean, I'm still exhausted, but like I feel like a person again. She's not, 3 months old. And I turned 40 playing this part. I mean, it was, I feel like I slid in right at the very last possible moment for me to play this part.
Wow. I first saw you in Swing with my dear friend Ann Hampton Calloway.
Oh, she's the best. I was 19 years old.
What?
I know.
Wow.
Aw,
Okay,
that
well,
is so sweet.
there you go. We have comments already from viewers.
Well, I know that
That's
during
nice.
the past year, you have
Mhm.
been quite busy. You have used your voice for good, if it's social
Oh
causes,
my God.
if it's for quarantine, if it's for people who haven't been able to perform their shows. You have really created some movement this year during COVID.
I appreciate that. So it was Sunshine Songs, which was a hashtag that I started on social media in order to give a platform to young people whose shows had been canceled. Really
Like
originated
high school-
from
like high schoolers.
yeah, like high school kids, yeah, and younger, middle school, like all school age kids, college. It really originated with my mom. She's never on her phone, and on Friday, March 13th, excuse me, when we all went into lockdown, she was like on her phone a bunch, and I was like, what's going on? And she was saying she was communicating with her students who are just so upset that they don't get to do their shows. And I was like, you know what, let me just make a quick video and let them know if they want to sing, I want to watch. And I thought I'd get like 20 videos, and I ended up getting, I think, like 15,000 videos. And the original post has been viewed millions and millions of times. And then that turned into Sunshine Concerts for isolated senior citizens and hospitalized children, the most isolated during this pandemic. And then that became a documentary on HBO Max called Homeschool Musical Class of 2020, where we featured 7 young graduated high school seniors from all across the country and virtually interviewed them and sent them camera packages so that they could film their performances. And I'm really, really proud of it.
Well, we happen to have the trailer.
Yay!
We're going to show it.
Yay!
Yeah.
Am I rolling in there?
This may seem silly, but I know that a lot of high schools are going to have their musical canceled. If you would like to sing and tag me, I want to see you. I want to hear it. Sunshine Songs quickly took on a life of its own. I got thousands of videos.
When Laura commented on my first video, I freaked out.
The young people you're about to meet
I'm talking to one of my idols. Hello.
raised their voices during this unprecedented time.
We all go through things from day to day. And art is what's going to get us through.
Quarantine drained me of all my creative energy.
I was a wreck. I was crying all the time.
We had all lost our jobs. I wouldn't be able to go to college.
My mom was like, we don't have a house. What do you mean we don't have a house? Like, I was just there this morning.
I started realizing I'm trans.
Sometimes you have to really look inside yourself and heal.
I feel our generation lifting each other up and lifting the world up.
Very resilient and optimistic and kind. And I'm so proud of the class of 2020.
That is so amazing. Do you like pinch yourself at night in the closet?
I do. I really love those kids. I really love them. And I'm so proud of them. I'm so proud of this generation. So much is being asked of them. We've put so much on their shoulders, and just to have an opportunity to give them a platform to speak their own minds and share their own voices is such an honor.
And I think we've learned, like, during this pandemic, the strength of social media voices.
Mm-hmm.
And you started this hashtag that spoke to so many kids, and you're sitting in your closet, but it really helped us, so many kids whose only outlet and sense of calm and peace is doing their high school or junior high school musical. We all know what that feels like.
Yes.
And you made one post and you changed people's lives.
Yeah, I mean, for better or for worse, we can do that. I think that's the double-edged sword of social media.
Yeah.
You can change people's lives for good or bad. One single thing you say can affect someone in a horrible way.
Yeah.
And so I'm hopeful that that we can all lean toward the light, that we can all remember that once we put it out there, it's out there,
Yeah.
even if you delete it, someone could have screenshot it. And, so I'm cautious about social media, but I also want to use it to the best of my ability to be of service.
Well, I think you did.
The documentary is on HBO Max now. I saw it. You really fall in love with all of the students, and they do such a beautiful job. It's a beautiful, beautiful piece. So congratulations.
Thank you, Robert. That means so much to me.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It was beautiful.
Thanks.
So one of the beautiful byproducts of being in this production was that you got to work with one of theater's most legendary actresses.
Yes.
The stunning Rosemary Harris.
Yes.
What was that like?
That is 9
I can't
times.
believe this. It's amazing.
9
Lord,
times Emmy nominee.
wonderful to see you. Both
Oh,
everybody.
I'm so happy to
Darling.
see you.
Yes, you. How is Ella? How is our little,
She's
my little Ella?
oh, she's so big.
Oh,
She's 4.
Four?
She's
Oh
4.
gosh, talking away. Well, she was then, wasn't she? Yes. Oh, send me a picture of her, please. I miss her. I miss you too.
I miss you so much. I'm so happy to see you.
Yes, it's lovely. I can't believe it. It's magic.
It is. It is.
So, but it was wonderful to hear all the wonderful things that you've been doing. I've just been sitting here twiddling my thumbs. I'm still in North Carolina, but I never got to come up to New York because lockdown came just as I was leaving. Because after the show, I had to come back to North Carolina to sell or try to sell my house that John and I lived in for 50 years. And an offer on the house. And so I had to accept it. And so I was busy moving out of that. And then lockdown came. So I'm not back in New York yet, but planning to as soon as I can. But in the meantime, I'm in lovely, green, beautiful North Carolina.
Yes,
and
there are
missing
definitely worse
everybody.
places to be. Yes.
Oh my goodness, this is a magic. I can't believe.
I don't think Miss Harris needs any introduction. I mean, you do have a Tony Award, a Golden Globe, an Emmy Award. You're a 9-time nominee. Maybe you know her as Aunt May from Spider-Man. I sure do. That was my and it is really Lee and I we've pinched ourselves for weeks waiting to have you on our show. It's a true honor.
Well, thank you. That's a great honor to be on it. It's all magic to me. Give me 4 boards and a passion, and I sort of know what to do with it. But this is magic. It's just beyond me. But I have a lovely friend who lives in the garage apartment, and she and I sort of live together. But she helps me with all these sort of things. Without her, I wouldn't know what to do. But I love you. That's all I can say.
Oh. Wow. Laura, what were your first thoughts when you found out that Rosemary was going to be in the cast with you?
I mean, Rosemary is a legend, and she's legendary not only for her talent, but for her kindness. Her reputation as being warm and wonderful and committed. I don't think she missed a single show.
No, I had to miss a couple because I had to have a little thing on my eyebrow taken off. Remember, so I did, and I gave my lovely understudy a chance to play.
That's right.
So,
but
yes.
I was so excited, and one of my favorite Rosemary stories was I was in her dressing room, or I was actually walking by, and I poked my head in, and Rosemary was lovingly caressing one of her gowns. And I looked in, and Rosemary, you said, worms made this. Because it was silk. And I thought, my gosh, like the how beautiful that you were just sitting there appreciating the costume that was made for you.
Oh, it was such fun, such fun. I thought I would only be doing it for 3 months, and then the 3 months turned into 6 months, and then the 6 months turned into 9 months, and then we had to close. But I had to come back here and try and sell my house, which I've done. So I'm ready to come back to New York as soon as everything opens up again.
Yes.
So, yes.
And Rosemary, how do you have the stamina? How do you handle? I mean, 8 shows a week is hard for someone in their 20s.
Well, I think it's just you pace yourself, and you do have a nap in the afternoon if you can. In fact, I think I always had a point of that, because when Jennifer was a little girl, she once drew a portrait of me, and it was me lying down, because that's all she ever saw of me. She was saying good morning to me in the morning before she went to school, and then Mummy's having a nap now. So I was always sort of horizontal, but as long as one did get that nap in the afternoon, then that refreshes you for the rest of the next however many hours you need. And of course, the theater is such an adrenaline; it shoots so much adrenaline into you. You can't be weary. There's no such thing, is there? It just exhilarates you.
Rosemary, what was the appeal to joining My Fair Lady when you were offered the chance to be a part of it? What was it that made you think this is the project that I would like to come back to Broadway for?
Well, what was so exciting was that I've never been in a musical. I've got a voice like a corn crake. I could hardly carry a tune, but to be in a musical is such an honor. But actually, it's the third time that I've played Mrs. Higgins, because it's a non-singing role, thank God. But the first time I played Mrs. Higgins, I think I was about 18 years old, and I did it with a grey wig on, of course. And my Eliza was a very famous 30s music hall star in London called Jessie Matthews. She had a beautiful voice and lots of scandal about her. But when she was in her 40s, she started touring the little companies in England playing Eliza Doolittle. So I was the sort of character juvenile in the company. So I was assigned Mrs. Higgins, which is ridiculous, really. But that was the first time I played it. And that was in about 1946 or something, 40, in the 40s anyway. And then the next time I did it, it was at the Hollywood Bowl. So
I saw you in that.
That was a big jump up.
I saw you in that.
Of course, that was just one. Did you?
I did.
Yes. Yes, I dreamt I was wearing my Harley bra or my maiden form bra at the Hollywood Bowl. Do you remember that advertisement? And it was a good production, I think, with John Lithgow as Henry, and Melissa Errico was playing your part, Laura. Mm-hmm. And then the guy from The Who was playing Doolittle. What's his name? A very famous
Stephen Townsend?
Singer.
Robert Townsend.
Robert Townsend.
Who?
Robert Townsend?
In The Who? Who's in The Who? No.
It's one of them. I don't know.
I feel like this is a trick question.
Yeah. He played Doolittle. It was just one performance. But then I got my work in at Lincoln Center. It was so exciting. Such a wonderful production with such variety, just hearing that music start up again brought tears to my eyes just now.
Too.
What a musical! I've been in touch with Alan Corduna.
Yes.
And I've been in touch with Harry, who's just had another baby.
They did?
Another little girl.
Oh,
I said, when you've got a good brand, another little girl. Yeah. So that's three.
That's
so I said, when you've got a good brand, it's good to stick to it. So his third daughter. But they're so hoping to come back to Lincoln Center to do the play the musical that he got worked up in, the Flying Over Sunset. Was all ready to go. They did one preview and then the lockdown. So he's hoping to come back with his three little girls and his lovely wife, his Becca.
Yes.
So we'll all be together again and maybe we'll see each other. That would be lovely, wouldn't it? I want to see Ella. Does she remember me, do you think?
She does. She does remember you.
Just by name.
Yes. Well,
I mean, she's 4. God.
No, but we have a picture of you and her together from her birthday party. Yeah, she knows because we have a picture of you on our wall of the three of us together from her birthday party, and she says that's my friend Rosemary. One of my favorite things, Rosemary, when she would visit between shows is when she would say to you, "Time for your nap."
She knows. She knew it.
Yeah.
I love it.
She must be incredible now that she's 4.
She's hilarious. It's like living with a tiny Robin Williams.
List. Probably my list when I get back.
She's very funny. She really is.
Can
She's
imagine.
like
Just move over.
she's got energy.
And an opinion. She has an opinion as well.
Always.
Yeah.
Always.
Yes, yeah. Well, here's one of the things that I think is so wonderful, and I don't know if
Used
it's
to
common.
take her to hang out with you.
Will you say that again?
I know.
Oh, what did you say?
Will you
I
say
said
that
she used
again,
to say to
Rosemary?
you, "Can I hang out with you, Mum?" She was 2 when she said, "Let's hang out."
Let's hang out. I know.
So sweet.
Didn't she? Why don't we hang out?
She
She was
did.
2.
I love
I
it.
know.
Oh my, what fun these days were.
I love it.
know.
One of the things that I think is so wonderful, and I
So,
don't know if this is common or
Here
not,
we
but
are.
your understudy in one of your understudies has now gone on to be the star of the tour.
Yes, Shireen.
Yes.
She is. So another funny story.
Oh no, I know. No, you don't have to tell me. I know that story. I think it's wonderful.
She's
She was,
incredible.
you know, I think I was told she didn't even have an agent to begin with, that she just did a equity call and joined
Yes.
the company like that. And then she just worked her way up
Yes.
and then was given the tour, which was wonderful. She's going to be on, isn't she, in a minute?
Sure
Well,
Is she going to be
what?
there?
Yes, we have her
Is she
here.
going
So
to
I
be-
want to show a little video of her on the tour, and then we'll bring her on to talk.
Okay. Good. That'd be wonderful. I'd love to see her.
Well, hello.
Oh my gosh! I am so
Oh, this is amazing. Well done. Oh, terrific.
Shireen, welcome to the reunion.
Yeah.
Thank you. You should have seen me. I'm in the waiting room just like beaming, watching you all. Oh my goodness. It makes me so happy to see you.
Well,
You
congratulations on your success and your journey. What a story. Is that the story? You went to a call and you got cast?
Yeah. So I was on my way to a different audition, and my friend said, "Hey, they're auditioning for Mrs. Pierce in the other room for My Fair Lady, but no one's there." So I went to be seen by Kelsey, the casting company, not for the show necessarily, because I was like, no way I'm booking that. No way. And then it just happened. It's crazy. It's wild.
Wow.
Wow. That's amazing. And now the tour they've announced is going to start again, like in the fall, right?
Oh my goodness. Yes. We're fingers crossed for September.
Where did everybody go?
Oh,
we're here.
We're here. We're here. We're here.
I have to get my computer charger. I'm leaving the closet. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Shireen, one of the questions I had for you and Laura was, what was it like to work on the accent work? How did you work on the accent work to play Eliza?
Oh my goodness. Well, we had an incredible coach, Liz Smith, and she was amazing. And we worked for hours and hours and hours. It was like parroting. Exactly what you see in the show is what we did backstage in preparation for the show. So yeah, it was a lot of training and a lot of hard work with Liz. But you know, it's so fun because that you learn so much about the show, about the history and the character. And of course, I'm surrounded by and speaking to the incredible Rosemary every day. and Harry and Alan. So we have Brits backstage that I can learn from too. So it was so fun.
I love it.
Amazing.
Rosemary, how did she do with the accent?
Oh God.
How did I do with what?
How did Shireen do with her accent?
What did you ask me?
How did Shireen do with her accent?
I'm sorry, I don't understand what you asked.
Uh-oh.
I said, how did Shireen?
Sorry, I still don't.
Oh my.
That's okay. No
Okay.
worries.
No worries. No worries. No
How did
worries.
Shireen do what? How did she
Maybe-
do anything? She did it beautifully, I can assure you. Whatever it
Okay,
was.
perfect.
Bro, that's it. That's the truth.
I think she's terrific. I think she's absolutely terrific. And I'm sorry, because I think you came to North Carolina. I think did you come to Charlotte, North
We did.
Carolina?
Yes.
And
Yes,
I
we
wasn't able to come and see you, I think. Do you remember coming to Charlotte?
Yes, I love Charlotte. It
I
was
think,
so
yeah,
fun.
and it's it's next door to where I am. I'm in Winston-Salem, and I
Oh.
missed the boat. I'm. But if you come anywhere near, are you coming south?
Yes.
Do you
I
know
believe
what your new schedule is with the tour when we start up again?
Not yet.
Nothing is solid yet.
Look at that beautiful
But-
face.
Right?
Do you know what? Do you know when you'll start the tour again?
Fingers crossed for end of September or mid-September. So keep your fingers crossed.
Uh huh. But
Well,
you'll
what
be
about-
out west, will you?
I believe so. Yes. Oh my goodness, it would be so
You
nice
know
to
what
see
your schedule is?
you. I don't know the exact dates yet, but I think they'll be
Mhm.
announced soon. Hopefully.
Well,
They've
when I
opened a big theater in Greensboro that's taking big musicals, so it might come there.
maybe
I've
when I
lost
think
you
of My
again.
Fair Lady,
Yes.
I definitely think about
what?
the music. And one of the most iconic songs is "On the Street Where You Live," and I think that it's sung by Freddie. Am I right? And I think we may have a Freddie.
And we
waiting
have,
in the wings.
we have your tour Freddie with us tonight.
Oh, the towering feeling, just to know somehow you are near. The overpowering feeling that any second you may suddenly appear. People stop and stare, they don't bother me. For there's nowhere else on earth that I would rather be. Let the time go by. I won't care if I can be here on the street where you live.
Well, welcome.
Hi, Sam.
Hi. Wow, it's so dark. It was lighter when we started this.
Well, too bad you can't sing. My goodness, your voice is gorgeous.
I know,
That
it's a
was
shame, right?
beautiful.
I've never seen that, so that was nice.
You're kidding.
Boost. Thank you. How are you guys doing, ladies? How are you doing?
We're
Hi.
doing great.
It's so nice to see you, Sam.
So nice to see you, Shireen. I missed hearing your voice, and it was so nice to see that clip. Oh,
Oh my goodness, likewise, likewise.
Sam, what was your journey to My Fair Lady?
well, actually, so I had worked with Bart prior to that. I did the tour of The King and I was in the ensemble. And throughout the course of the show, I started out in the ensemble, and I understudied Lun Ta, who sings "I Have Dreamed" and "We Kiss in the Shadow." And then throughout the course of the show, I covered the Crawler Home and the two British guy parts, and then I ended up covering the King by the end in a weird turn of events. And then I ran into the associate director and begged her for an audition, basically. She got me in, and I did the show. And here we are.
Wow.
Well, there's a classical musical theater piece, you are the guy. Carousel, King and I, Miss Saigon, My Fair Lady. With that voice, you have that voice down. That is truly something.
Thank you. It's been a real trip. You know, I have to say, you know, I'm Asian American. My dad's from Thailand, and I always assumed that I would do the King and I would do Miss Saigon. But I never saw myself playing Freddie Eynsford Hill, and I never saw myself. I played Curly in Oklahoma a couple of years ago, and that's something that wouldn't have happened 10 years ago. Even 10 years ago, they were still casting White Kings of Siam. So you know, I do have to say that's you know, I'm pretty lucky to be in these shoes, and I have a lot of you know, guys to thank ahead of me: Jose Lana, Paulo Montalban, a lot of people who made a lot of steps in the business.
Well, Shireen, I know that your background and you being able to play Eliza is quite a groundbreaking performance, and Sam, and I know Laura has been outspoken. It's really nice to see this production take casting into the 21st century and be an example, hopefully, for future shows as well.
That speaks to Bart. That speaks to the heart of Bart Sher, for sure.
And what is it, do you think, that the only word that I could come up with from seeing all of these revivals that he's done is that they appear in Technicolor to me? What is it that he does? It's like magical. He takes a piece that we know so well. I mean, I've seen My Fair Lady hundreds of times in my life, and this production, same as The King and I, same as South Pacific, same as Light in the Piazza, they come to life and they blossom in colors that I've never seen before.
You know, it's so interesting because our first day of rehearsal for the tour, he said, "I don't believe in singular genius. He only believes in collective genius." And I thought that was just something so incredible and speaks so true to who Bart is. And he directs the people in the room. You know, when we were doing the tour, it was like, yes, we put it on Broadway, but who are these people now? I have to work with these new group of people. And it was just, it's beautiful because then it becomes like this collaborative, creative, fun process. And all of these beautiful ideas come into play when he puts up a show. And he also directs so cinematically. It's like,
yes,
I mean, breathtaking.
Yes, I agree. As an audience member, I agree. It's a feast, you know, for the senses. It's just beautiful.
Everyone that's watching at home, please feel free to start asking questions because your questions will come up on the screen in a few moments. So if you have any questions for anyone in the cast, this is your chance. Send them on in.
Look at that. Look at what you've triggered. How has everybody been in quarantine? I always like to ask this question, first of all, to make sure that everybody's okay, but also everybody has different experiences. Laura, you turned your quarantine into such an incredible gift to students across the world. Also, being a full-time mom probably took on a whole new meaning.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, you know, I think that this is an unprecedented moment in our history. And while I hesitate to say anything, to use the phrase silver lining, because I think that's really dangerous. You know, I think we heard a lot like, we're all in the same boat. And the best metaphor I've heard is that's not true. We're all in the same water, but we're in very different boats. You know, so I was very aware of my privilege during that time, that I, you know, had secure housing, secure food. You know, mothers were, and in particular mothers of color and women of color, were disproportionately affected during this pandemic in such an excruciating way. And, you know, the one thing I will say is when it comes to Black Lives Matter and the incredibly important social justice moment we find ourselves in, I don't know if we all would have moved as fully and as rapidly had we not been stuck inside all looking at the same news program. I think, you know, I don't know. We have seen horrendous situations like with George Floyd. We have seen that happen before, and we've gone, that's terrible, and then moved about our business. And I think there is something about being stuck inside of our homes that made us stop. And so for me, that has been like taking stock of ourselves in that way, having this space to investigate ourselves and our humanity. And frankly, our industry has been really important. Really important work to do.
Well, you know, God works in mysterious ways, and he had a very captive audience, he or she, or whatever. Very captive audience for what, 16 months or something. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Shireen,
does anybody else want to chime in on that topic?
I think, Laura, you said it so beautifully. And you know, in regards to our theater industry, something that I've been sitting with and thinking about a lot during this pandemic is like, you know, the whole purpose of putting on a show is to be in service of our audience, right? And to meet our audience where they are, always. And now we have this opportunity to start this industry again after, or knowing that every person that sits in those seats have experienced the same trauma of 2020 and 2021. I mean, obviously, yes, I love that metaphor. We're in different, I think, what was it you said? We're in different water, or
we're all in the same water, but we're in different boats.
I love that metaphor because, yes, 100%. And I think, you know, we've had to sit with ourselves and actually extend empathy towards each other and listen to each other for the first time, instead of saying, I'm busy, or I don't have time, or I can't show up in that way. So it'll be really interesting. And I have a lot of hope that when we do return, we will meet our audiences where they are. And representation, in inclusivity, and different stories being told on the stage. And, you know, I mean, as a woman of color, being able to walk into a theater and know that I can see myself in the story makes a difference. It just makes a complete difference in how I interpret the story and how I take that home and express it to other people and show up to other people. So, you know, I think we have a great opportunity at our fingertips. So what are we going to do with it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure. Sam, do you want to chime in?
I think you both said it so beautifully, and I do think, you know, like I was just saying, I think I keep freezing over here in the corner. We've seen the industry change so much in 100 years, in 50 years, in 10 years. Progress does happen, but it happens very slowly. And I think this year was a real shock to the system, to the entire system, the American system, the global system, and the you know, for us in particular, our industry, our entire industry shut down for a year and was forced to examine a lot of things that it's done wrong in the past. And I hope that when it comes back, we will see a change in the speed at which that change takes place.
Yes. Absolutely. Yes. And Rosemary, I know your internet connection has been in and out, but do you have any words of advice or wisdom in terms of the state of the industry and inclusivity and everything we're dealing with?
In regards to what?
Well, there's been a whole...
I've got a long memory, and I first did a play in 1952 in Washington, and it was a wonderful cast. It was a mixed race, you could call it. I think that's what they said in those days, cast, with Earl Hyman when he was a kid, and Jane White, whose father was the head of the NAACP, and we weren't allowed to eat at the same restaurants. We weren't allowed to stay in the same hotel. And this was 1952.
Wow.
Wow.
So it's I guess you could say we have moved a little bit, but not far enough. I mean,
Right.
it's not like that, but it's not right yet. And I don't know when it'll be right. It's dragging its heels at the moment, I think, and it's inconceivable to me. I remember standing up in a restaurant in Washington, I think it was O'Donnell's or something, because they wouldn't seat us. They said there are no tables. And I stood up and said, there's a perfectly good table over there. What's wrong? And they said, I'm sorry, it's already booked. And then they came over to Jane and they said, are you Indian? And she said, no, I'm not. I'm American. I'm African American. And they said, I'm sorry, we don't have a table.
Wow.
So I have a long memory, so things have improved, but not nearly enough. We've got a long way to go still.
Well, you all of you are making headway, and your voices are heard by people everywhere. And thank you for using your influence and your platform to help people everywhere. It's really something that is really been empowering and courageous to see. So I know there are a lot of people watching that send their
I'm
thanks.
sorry we haven't met, and I'd love to hear your voice. I'd love to hear you sing. Yes, because I've heard Laura and I've heard Shireen, but I haven't heard you.
Oh,
she wants to hear you.
I hope I'll come and see you in the tour somewhere. I hope you'll be there.
Well, yeah, you'll have to come out and see us. I don't know the next time when we'll be in the South, but I'll come straight to North Carolina just on my own, and I'll sing straight to you, Rosemary.
Oh,
we have a question. The costumes were beautiful. Adele Miski asks,
"Love you,
Laura,
all," and I am so grateful to the time to.
Oh,
how were you? Yes.
Oh, thank you.
And back to you.
Dell was our dresser.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. And we had to do a quick change in a rotating closet.
What does that mean?
So like the set would turn on a turntable and we would run into a closet, and in like 10 seconds she would change our dresses. And then you would run. Yeah, it was intense. The first time I did it, I wanted to throw up.
I think it's like 7 seconds or so, or 9 seconds, and you have to run up the stairs as well to be in place, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's wild.
It was wild. And all the while moving, and like holding on to this. It's like being in a ride in Disney and also being naked.
You really have to surrender, right?
And you started saying I could have danced all night yet.
Right. I know.
You like ran a marathon and, you still have another one to do.
Yeah.
Wow.
You really have to surrender to that kind of process because I could never do it. I'm too much of a control freak.
I have to tell you, it was incredible because, as an understudy, you're not really told these things, right? Totally. However, Laura was so busy during this time, shooting this, shooting that, TV shows, interviews, 8 shows a week. It was wild. But as I was gearing up for my debut, she would come by my dressing room. She's like, are we still talking? Are we still gonna connect and talk about this stuff? I was like, you're an angel. You're an angel. And she'd go as detailed as like, by the way, the box that you have to step on Wouldn't It Be Lovely? It gets a little bit like wonky. So just make sure you're holding someone's hand, blah, blah, blah. And this is crazy. Make sure to drink your whole glass of water. I remember you telling me that. Make sure to drink the whole glass of water before this quick change, blah, blah, blah. It was like so detailed. And I felt so safe at going into my debut. It was like, I felt safe and it was like a warm hug.
You know who taught me that was Rebecca Luker. I was Rebecca Luker's understudy in The Sound of Music. And when she went on vacation for 2 weeks, that is what she did for me. And I've done that ever since with every understudy, because I know, I appreciated it so much. That's the stuff no one ever tells you. And that's the stuff that trips you up when you go on, because you step on the box and go like, oh my gosh, and then you forget your lines. So I'm so glad that you felt that way and that it was meaningful to you. And that makes me feel like Becca is like still here with us in that way, because that's her legacy,
Well, I didn't get to meet her.
And Shirin, do remember me to your father. I remember meeting your dad backstage.
Oh my goodness.
Did you ever a more proud father I never saw?
Just an Arab lost.
I think that was your debut. Was it? Yes. He's such a wonderfully really good-looking guy.
I remember people.
I remember him. Please, I remember him fondly.
Yes, he was so excited, and he's like walking around backstage with his phone, interviewing. How was the show? Did you have a good time?
Yeah.
It was like,
he was about to take off into the sky. He was so happy for you.
Oh my goodness, that makes me happy.
Oh yes. That's
wow.
happy
We have a question for the cast. Is there anything about yourselves you discovered during your time in the show?
Yeah, I have a tendency to be like a people pleaser, and I have a tendency to overextend myself in a way that ultimately becomes kind of, I don't want to say disingenuous, but it's not being true to myself. I'll often ask for things in an indirect way. And because I had not been an understudy in 23 years, I had to ask very directly for things that I needed, because I was coming into a moving, like a machine that was already moving. And so my would it be possible if, is it okay? There was no time for that. I just had to be very direct, ask for what I needed. And in some ways, have a confidence in myself that I sometimes don't allow in an effort to not have to not live in my ego. And so I think for me, it was one of the first times in my, it was the beginning for me of a journey of understanding that clarity, kind clarity, is very different than moving from your ego, speaking from your ego. And in fact, it's preferable to people, I think, ultimately. So that was a great lesson for me.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah. It's good to ask what you need, so you're taken care of.
Yeah.
Sam?
Yeah, I one thing that I discovered, Freddie is an awesome part to play. It's so much fun. And to get to sing that song is so amazing. It's also an incredibly isolated track. You interact with maybe 3 other people on stage throughout the course of the show. And so what was interesting that I discovered was that, I've been in the business. I have been in New York for over 10 years now, worked my way through the non-equity theaters up into, small ensemble part in the back corner, because I cannot dance. So they would hide me somewhere, tuck me behind the tree, and I could just kick my leg out. And what I find or what I found doing the show is that some of the moments that I cherished the most were when I was not featured on stage and I was just walking through Covent Garden as Eliza is having her moment of reflection, and I'm just kind of messing around with my fellow castmates and having little improv moments that not people aren't noticing in the audience, but it's this connection between colleagues and friends, and that's what theater is to me. I think that's ultimately what I discovered.
That's great. That's great. Shireen?
Yeah, the first thing that comes to mind for me is when I was understudying. Actually, I mean, it's one thing to understudy. It's another thing to understudy Laura Benanti. It's like, talk about pressure. So I had to find a way where it was like, okay, how do I live within the show? But also, Eliza is an iconic role that Julie Andrews and Audrey Hepburn, there are these massive names connected to it that I could really crumble if I let that get to me, right? So I had to find a way, where I was like, I'm walking along or beside these incredible performers and actors and just geniuses, but where's my path? And where is the freedom where I can find a little bit of Shireen in this? And that was the first time that I had to come face to face with that and ask the hard questions of like, okay, the blocking now, Laura's show, all the things, the technicality of it. Now where's Shireen? Mm. And that was hard at first, because it was like, oh my gosh, am I doing this wrong? But to do the story service, you have to find that within you,
And you did it so beautifully. And that's what's so amazing.
Oh,
so proud of you.
All of you are quite a group of artists. I believe we have one more question before we run out of time.
Oh, wow. What's your favorite line or song from the show? Well, Rosemary, we'll start with you.
What was my favorite line? Oh my goodness, there's so many. I just, just being in a musical was such a dream to me. I don't think it'll ever happen again, because how many non-singing roles are there, like Mrs. Higgins? She's a rare bird. and I don't think I'll have another chance, but I really was so happy to be doing it. It was a very, very happy experience. But I can't think of a certain line. I should think of it, really, shouldn't I? Give me a little thought.
Okay, sounds.
I know mine. I know mine.
Okay, you go, Laura.
The difference between a lady and a flower girl is not how she behaves,
I
but how she is
all.
treated.
I mean,
yeah. That's a beautiful line.
Mrs. Higgins has some choice. What she says is choice, as they say. She has some choice.
True.
Things. Yes, some wonderful exit lines.
She does.
Yeah. So, anyway, thank you for all of them. Every single one I treasured. I didn't have a lot. Has to say is choice.
Perfect. Sam?
I can't think of my favorite line in the show. They're all Mrs. Higgins. Mrs. Higgins has the best lines in the show, I think. My favorite song, I usually, I stand off stage after I exit, and then I watch the entirety of Get Me to the Church on Time, because that is just such a blast. It's one of the most fun numbers in the show, and it fills me with FOMO. I just stand there and just want to be a part of it, and I can just raucously cheer in the wings and feel like I am, but alas, I am not.
How about you, Shireen?
I have to agree with Sam. All of Mrs. Higgins' lines are just like right on point. And I mean, if I could just have all of her quotes on my wall, it would just be amazing. But favorite song, I think, Rain in Spain, for some reason. I think it's just such a pivotal moment in the show where she finds her voice for the first, or this new voice. It's like, it's surprising to me how much that it hits when I perform it. So
that's great.
Wow.
That's great. Well, as per usual, our hour flies by on these episodes. I cannot thank you enough. I also want to give a special shout out to Amy Katz at Troika, who is working the national tour, because she has put all the pieces together for this reunion, and we are so grateful for all of her help and guidance. And what a pleasure. Rosemary, it's an honor to meet you and to have you on the show. Laura, we've emailed for years. It's so good to see you face to face.
So good to see you, Lee.
And Shireen and Sam, my two biggest Instagram friends at the moment. You've been so great. And we just can't thank you enough for helping us bring the magic of this show and the tour together for audiences who will hopefully be seeing it so soon.
Thank you guys so much for being here.
Thank you.
Bye, everybody.
For
Thank
all the work.
you. Love you.
Love, mwah, mwah. Bye.
Wow.
What a wonderful time and what a wonderful group.
Wow. I was like nervous for tonight because I was.
They're a group of.
I mean, Rosemary Harris. I've been such a fan of hers for years, and she's so and I saw her at the Hollywood Bowl because my friend was like one of the townspeople.
You know what's so great? When you hear them speak, and what I think theater brings to, I know in Lee's, when Lee has done shows, or everyone that's done shows is the community. They care about each other. To see Rosemary and Laura faces when they first see each other, or see Shireen and Sam see each other, that connection you have as a cast is what makes this such a special space to share together on the Broadway Cast series.
And Laura said like her daughter Ella had such a special bond with Rosemary backstage and everything, and it's a special time, you know.
It's family.
Yeah, it's family. It's family. Well, thank you so much for joining us. We're very excited for our next Broadway Cast reunion. We have the 6 original Broadway female leads of the Tony Award-winning musical Come From Away on Wednesday, the 26th of May, 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific. Just go to BroadwayCastReunion.com for all the information and tickets and all that. And we're excited. It's going
to be fun. We'll be here 2 weeks from tonight. And if you want to see all of our upcoming information, 3, is it?
Yes. 2 weeks.
I was nervous. Go to BroadwayCastReunion.com. There it is.
And I just want to give 2 extra shout outs. First of all, to Johnny Rogers, who composed our opening theme song. When we came up with the idea of doing this series, I was like, we need a theme song. And he wrote one for us, and we love it. So thank you, Johnny, so much. And also to our producer and production designer and engineer, Jonathan Hawkins and the Muse Presents, for making this look so easy for us when it is not.
You're at the mercy of the internet.
You're the best, as always.
Thank you so much, Lee. It's always an honor and a pleasure to spend this time with you.
Yeah. See you soon.